I want to kind of shift the discussion to something that's a lot more open. I think we basically came to the core of your reasoning to a certain extent. I think people can basically listen to this conversation again and just piece it all together. I want to kind of tap prodigal in here. Okay, and now the discussion between the two of you, I want it to basically look like a chess game. Everybody takes turns, and I don't want you to speak over each other. So, Destiny, I want you to say take a certain amount of time. If it is okay with you, can we do 60 seconds? Like 60 seconds, you make your point, 60 seconds, he makes his point. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, you can take as long as you want, as long as there's no rambling, sure.
Okay, cool. Prodigal, go ahead. 60 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if he's taking the position today, it was a joke. Bad jokes happen. I mean, I've seen the clips, I've seen the texts. Doesn't seem like a joke. But I can understand why now, since you've had some blowback and demonetization, you might be saying that. But in the end, this was an innocent man out with his family who died trying to protect his family. To say you wish this on anybody who supports Trump or might even support him through attending one of his rallies or events deserves to die, I don't know what kind of rhetoric that is to unite. I mean, he went on and on about the right pushing the boundary lines. I mean, I literally saw the United States burn 2+ billion in property damage, countless murdered. I think it was over 1,500 police officers injured, law enforcement officers, I'll be more broadly, state, local, and federal. And they didn't care. They had a bail fund. They let him out. When he talks about the right getting above everybody else, I mean, to my knowledge, Donald Trump was the only president who had declassification authority. Biden didn't as a senator or vice president, and Hillary Clinton didn't have it as a secretary of state. We have seen a complete weaponization from the start of the Trump campaign, not even when he entered office. The Russiagate hoax, the Ukraine impeachment hoax, the January 6th sham commission. I mean, you just say platitude after platitude and pivot, and then you end up talking about World War II fucking Japan. You really have nothing to stand on, but I don't expect much because you're in it for shock value in yourself and attention and clicks and money, and everybody else be damned. So listen, if it was a joke, then listen, bad jokes happen. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so the fact that you say Democrats won't take responsibility for the BLM riots when people like Biden were telling people that violence is unacceptable, and then you refer to the J6 investigation as a sham, I think perfectly illustrates the issue we have. And I think that one sentence perfectly encapsulates why I'm so done trying to quote unquote play nice with conservatives. This idea that you're asking for an unlimited amount of accountability on the left when you won't even take responsibility for true things that have been documented and have happened on the right is absurd. There's no reason to play by that rule book when conservatives get to enjoy broad immunity from the dumbest possible arguments that one could ever make. When you talk about me changing my position because of blowback or monetization on X has absolutely nothing to do with me making money, number one. Number two, I don't change my opinions based on blowback. I write extensively about the things that I believe, and I document them extensively on video and social media. You can find all of my opinions. They don't change in response to blowback. If anything, I'm more likely to dig in. And three, when you talk about my attitude towards the person that died and whether or not I think it's a joke or not, I think it's a joke and that there are funny things to joke about. Do I wish people would die? Do I encourage people to go out and engage in acts of violence? No, and I've explicitly said, no, I don't. But do I feel sympathy for people that get killed supporting a dictator, supporting a guy who, tried to lead an insurrection against the United States? Of course not. My well of sympathy for those types of people are completely gone. So if somebody does get killed at a rally like that and people are expecting sympathy instead of jokes about it, nah, absolutely not.
Yeah, see, there's a difference between theory and practice. When you look at January 6th, I mean, you look at the Fisher decision, had to go all the way to the Supreme Court. They are pursuing novel legal theories that should never been brought. Anybody who was violent on January 6th should face prosecution. But the truth is the overwhelming majority of people there were nonviolent. The truth is the federal government and other agencies had assets embedded as high up as the number 2 of the Oath Keepers, multiple in the Proud Boys, and to this day through depositions, it's been released, and in excess of 100 law enforcement assets were embedded that day. If you're going to paint this as the worst thing since Pearl Harbor and the Civil War, we require transparency, not a commission where its materials disappear after it's been disbanded, and the only people defending the president are 2 never-Trumpers. Like, you can speak in platitudes and in theory, but we saw what occurred. It came out later through depositions that were concealed that there were requests for 10,000 National Guard troops. Even now, we see HBO footage of Nancy Pelosi admitting it because she did have the authority, and her and Mayor Bowser refused it. So the reality of the matter is you can speak in platitudes, but when we delve into what's actually going on, the depositions, the motions, etc., it's clear that this has been treated in a highly partisan matter. And if it was an insurrection, quote unquote, it shouldn't have been. It should have been public. We should have had all the footage released. We should have known who had the code for the magnetic lock. We should have known how high up and why the federal agents were embedded in these organizations for months and didn't do anything up to the lead up when there was information to the contrary. And both the president and his staff sought National Guard troops. So the reality reality of the matter is how this was painted is a joke. And for you to still bring it up when the only person who died there was an unarmed veteran who footage showed during that she was trying to calm people down. But now we have dead Trump supporters for 3 years beating the drum. The only person who died on January 6th as a result of it was Ashley Babbitt. Period. There's been people in solitary confinement withheld their due process when terrorists at Gitmo are given better constitutional protections. So to speak about this as if you're holier than thou and can speak about it as a position of authority when clearly this has been weaponized from day one, and you're seeing that as cases get overturned. There is no reason why Enron legislation should have been used to hang over people's heads who were peaceful that you're going to be doing a 20-term bid because it never applied. And that's what the Fisher decision said. But you know this. You're a smart guy.
Yeah, so when we say novel legal theory, it's because we have novel events that are happening in the United States. It's not every day that a president of the United States...
It's called a riot.
It's not every day that the president of the United States directs a riot to the Capitol in order to delay the certification.
Heard.
Yeah, right after he said, fight like hell or you're going to lose your country. Fight like Hey, I'm just curious. Excuse me, I thought I had 60 seconds to speak. I think that we can all...
because Congress was already going on for 30 minutes.
One after another.
Okay, I'm having my turn to speak. Thank you. I think we can all look at the videos. We can all see what happened. That when we say, oh, well, what did it look like they went to the Capitol to do? Did it look like they were going there to make their voices peacefully heard? Or did it look like they were going there to fight like hell so that the lawful slates of electors were counted? Well, given that we had a riot, given that one tore through the building, and given that the actual vote itself, the certification of the vote, was delayed, it seems like the thing that Donald Trump said, that you need to fight like hell, you're going to lose your country, is exactly what the people went there and did. Maybe not all of them, but enough of them to delay the certification of the vote, which was Donald Trump's goal the entire time. You talk about all these embedded agents and all this embedded intelligence and everything else. Which one of these people forced Donald Trump to have that speech on January 6th, less than a mile away from the Capitol? No, none of those embedded agents forced Donald Trump to pick that time and that day and to tell those people to go marching to the Capitol building afterwards that he wanted to join, by the way. Nobody forced him to do that. He did that all on his own. And what were they going down there to protest as they walked down to the Capitol with 1776 signs in hand after Donald Trump told them that their country was being stolen from them and that they needed to fight like hell or they were going to lose it and that Mike Pence needed to come through for them? What were those people marching for? With a sign called 1776, which is a pretty famous insurrection. I don't know if you remember it or not. With that sign in hand, and they march down to the Capitol building, and what do? They fight against the certification of the vote, and they delay it using violent tactics. Sounds to me kind of like an insurrection. Every single part that you need for it to be an insurrection is there, and thankfully, we don't even have to guess what the intention is because they're literally holding 1776 signs outside, which is a sign that is commemorating one of the most famous insurrections in our history, arguably the most famous insurrection in our history. When we talk about...
or the founding of the country. I mean, it's like you're a joke. Now you love America, before you're a lefty and a communist. Yeah, they went down there to make their voices peacefully heard. But the reality matters, before Trump even finished his speech, there was issues at the Capitol, right? The Capitol Police should have been there. This is the most heavily surveilled city in America, if not the world. They cannot still find this pipe bomber. There were a lot of incidents that were there, and you keep skirting the issue. Nobody here is going to defend anybody who engaged on violence that day. The reality of the matter is an overwhelming majority were not engaged in violence. Some of them were waved in. Some of them were MAGA mothers walking between velvet lines. So you can try to paint whatever picture you want from the few clips they show on cable news, but there's a lot of other tapes that show Capitol Police walking them in, waving them in, people peaceful, and they left the building after 6. This was not an insurrection. They wanted their voices to be heard because the reality of the matter is a lot of the election integrity issues they were pissed off about still exist. As you know, in Georgia, CISA fought a release of an Excel report that showed clear issues with vulnerabilities in Dominion software. We've seen that recently in Puerto Rico with the Democratic primaries. In Arizona, we've seen somebody arrested stealing fobs trying to enter the tabulation center. There's been multiple cases in Pennsylvania and other jurisdictions where they have found that what occurred in 2020 was not legally authorized, right? Because the legislatures had the power. In many instances, you had governors and secretaries of state overriding what was a legislative process. And you can say, dismiss this as nothing, but we have seen these issues continually pop up, and they have in the last month. So they might be meaningless to you, but at least when I was growing up, I'm a little bit older, I remember 2000, they didn't stop for weeks to count the votes. They did a recount. Here in the middle of the night, everything stopped. Most of the stories didn't apply. You had the TCF Center in Detroit then putting up paper. And Georgia came out later about what's going on at the Dominion voting system. Just because you don't know this doesn't mean it's there. The case law is there. I'm sure you're aware of what happened in Puerto Rico. I'm sure you're already aware of what happened in Arizona. This is an issue that, even though it might mean nothing to you, concerns Americans, especially when the other party is making a concerted effort to enfranchise non-citizens in voting in local elections, and they really don't care about election integrity. and other elections. Look no further than Patterson in New Jersey. Look what's going on in Bridgeport in Connecticut. If they're doing this to their own, the Democrats, in primaries, you think all of a sudden when it's the general, they're going to play nice? No, there are clear election integrity issues, and you've seen that with the U.S. Congress now. Almost no Democrats going along with the SAFE Act to ensure that non-citizens aren't voting because they don't care. They're already getting their tax dollars. Everybody knows what's going on. So regardless, when you say Biden's a better option, what does he have to run on, Destiny? What does he have? Gen Z has never been worse. We have record homelessness in the U.S., in New York, in California. Home affordability is at the lowest level it's ever been. Real wages, you've lost 20% of your purchasing power. We're on the precipice of World War III in Europe and the Middle East, and we might end up in China with somebody who's incompetent. We've lost the global south. So you're bringing up all these issues as if Trump's a boogeyman, because that's all they could ever run. They have to paint Trump as a Hitler, as a Nazi, as a psycho, and his supporters. And your rhetoric feeds into that. Because you say you're joking, but I'll be honest with you, it didn't really sound humorous. Usually you have a laugh, a chuckle. That wasn't it. They deserve it. They need it, which I don't think it'd be almost impossible to find anybody on the right to say the same thing. The reality of the matter is,
are we doing 60 seconds still, or because this guy just yapped about like 15 topics?
I think so, yeah. That would be nice if we could have 60 seconds.
Yeah, let's be a little bit more concise in our answers instead of trying to tread over every single
Says
topic.
the guy talking about Japan and World War II, please.
That was in a conversation that I was having with him prior to you coming up here.
Yeah. I was kind of like gearing it towards that because I was using concepts to argue my point. Trying to somehow stay away from politics, but just arguing with the concept, the box of the concept. So, that's a different thing. So a consistency.
When we talk about the overwhelming majority of protesters were peaceful, that's fine. You don't define a riot by how many people are violent and how many people are peaceful. At probably almost any riot, the majority of people there aren't actually destroying stuff. You only need a little bit of the crowd to turn a protest into a riot. You know what else was overwhelmingly peaceful? The BLM protests. Most of them were peaceful. Even most of the riots were peaceful. But it doesn't take that many people to cause a riot to happen, to cause a huge amount of damage in neighborhoods, especially when you have that many people that are protesting. If the overwhelming amount of BLM protesters would have all been rioting, you would have seen, instead of, 2 billion damage or something at the end, you would have seen hundreds of billions of dollars of damage done across the entire country. So saying that the overwhelming majority was peaceful doesn't really speak to the argument that Donald Trump. Excuse me, bro. You just yapped for like 3 minutes. Oh my God! How are you yapping for so long? Let me begin to respond to all of the stupid shit you're saying.
How were they treated? Did they get bailed out by Kamala Fund or no? Did that happen?
One after another. Come on, everybody, calm down.
Yeah, when you say that the overwhelming majority is peaceful, it doesn't really matter. We're looking at it as a singular event. The singular event was Donald Trump called all of his followers to the Capitol on January 6th, and he sent them to the Capitol in order to protest the lawful certification of the vote. Now, when you talk about, the fact that most people were peaceful, then why was the vote delayed? Why did Ashley Babbitt get shot? Why are there videos of people fighting with cops and breaking into the Capitol building and smashing windows and smashing through the doors? It seems like that wasn't a peaceful protest. It seems like that was a riot. It seems like that was a riot, and it wasn't just any riot. It was a riot aimed at obstructing a lawful process that was ensuring our rights be respected as Americans, to have our voices heard, to vote for a president of the United States. It was a riot that was directed by Donald Trump in order to delay the certification of the vote, in order for him to illegitimately instantiate himself as president, to entrench himself for another 4 years.
I'm glad we're back down to a riot.
That was the goal.
All right. Everybody calm down. Okay, Prodigal, go ahead.
And
I'd like both of us to stick to this.
I have to finish. I've got like 10% of what he even said. I need to be able to respond to what he said. If he's going to yap for 3 minutes, I have to be able to speak as well. So it doesn't matter if we say, it doesn't matter. If you want to focus on that in your turn, then go for it. It doesn't matter if the overwhelming majority of people, then you should have made that point instead of yapping about World War III at the end of your answer. Okay, so there was a riot.
I was giving you the Biden platform.
There was a riot.
What does Biden have to run on?
More than Trump does. There was a riot, okay, and that riot was aimed at delaying the certification of the vote, which makes it an insurrection. Okay.
No,
when you say that, excuse me, can I please talk without being interrupted?
Everybody with a brain.
I sat here and listened with no interruption.
Okay. All right. One after another. Let's try not to scream at one another. I mean, do that. We really need a timer feature on X. Okay, so personally, I want the both of you to set timers for yourself so that you can stay within the 60-second limit. Because right now we're discussing something that's obviously a very heated thing that I don't really want to have be discussed. We could also kind of like go to a different topic that I think is a lot better. Every time we have a discussion about January 6th, can we perhaps talk about something more recent or something other than that? Because the whole thing has been discussed out in so many different ways that I think we're always kind of going back to the same conclusion. So can we perhaps even do that in a sense? That would be great.
Yeah, that's fine. My only point was about charging. I mean, he keeps deflecting. I've been clear.
Hold on, wait.
Anybody
I
who's
need to
violent.
finish answering his last thing, or else this is.
Sorry, the mute button is terrible. It is a double mute. Yes.
Okay, I have to finish responding to the 2.5 minute thing that he said before we go back to the 1 minute each. You want to do times afterwards, but yeah, I remember a lot. Yeah. So he said earlier also, he referenced the fact that they left the building after 6. That's because that's how long it took Donald Trump to call them off. You talk about how Donald Trump actually said that he wanted 10,000 troops there. That wasn't an official request. It was something that he brought up in passing. There's a reason why there was no official order given, and if there was, Donald Trump is the head of the National Guard for the DC Police because that's federally controlled, and Donald Trump is the commander in chief. The chain of command literally goes right up to him. So the idea that there were 10,000 troops on standby, that he wanted troops there, if he wanted them there, he could have literally ordered them there. He was sitting in his dark room with his Diet Coke, watching the events unfold on TV, listening to Ashley Babbitt die, and he did absolutely nothing to intervene because that's what he wanted. He wanted violence there the entire time. Even though he had the power to stop it and he didn't, he wanted it, and him and Giuliani capitalized on it. As the violence raged on, they made phone calls to sitting lawmakers. McCarthy was an important one. McCarthy, no, hold on. No, Yap was longer than a minute, so I'll take longer than a minute to respond to what you said. Donald Trump and Giuliani took advantage of the violence of the insurrection in order to try to accomplish their goal, which was delaying the certification of the vote so that they could illegitimately entrench him for another 4 years. You brought up Dominion voter software. Why didn't Fox News take that fight up? Why did they immediately give up that case and agree to pay the largest settlement in all of defamation history in order to avoid that case going to court? If you're so sure that the Dominion voter software was corrupt, why is it that Tucker Carlson himself had leaked texts where he was irritated taking orders from Sidney Powell and he wasn't even fully on board with this stuff, that this came out in Discovery, that Tucker Carlson ended up leaving Fox News over this? When you talk about also all of these court cases, man, you know what? It's nice that they at least got to go to court and at least have some of these cases put before judges, even if a lot of them were dismissed on standing because they were ridiculous. At least they got to have their day in court, whereas now you have Donald Trump fighting for immunity from all of these cases. Now we've got a case thrown out because of a schizoid rambling that Thomas did in an opinion saying, well, actually, I think that the special counsel is unconstitutional. Now we've got other cases that are potentially thrown out. Now that we've got other, I'm literally responding to the things that you said. I'm literally responding to things that you said.
You're not really responding to anything.
I am. I literally wrote them down. It's in front of me right now. I have a notepad with every single thing you said, and I'm running down the list, and I'm responding to things you said.
I don't need a notepad. I do it straight off my head.
I know. I understand. Trust me.
Prodigal,
If there's anything I know about
let
conservatives is that you don't write anything down. Trust me. I know.
I don't need it. It's bullshit.
So
I don't need I can answer it clearly.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
Okay, you can switch your conversation. You can switch your conversation up after he's done. After Destiny's done. Yeah. In all fairness, yes, he. in all fairness, Prodigal, yes, he have gone on for quite a while, and now he's basically doing the same. It's like a chess game. So if you guys are going to go on for like 5 minutes each, you're going to go on for 5 minutes each, and that's going to be
sure.
I'll
be polite, and I'll wrap it up with the last thing that he said. There's other things I can bring up. The last thing he said, he mentioned being on the precipice of World War III. What did Donald Trump do to turn the temperature down for that? He didn't do anything to put the brakes on the Russian occupation of Crimea. He recognized the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem, which stoked tensions with the Palestinians. It's what set off the entire 2018-2019 border riots. And he did absolutely nothing when Iran attacked Saudi Arabia. For the first time in all of history, he sat by and he watched and he did nothing. He bombed a Syrian airport because he was upset at Assad. He abandoned our Kurdish allies in northern Syria. I'm just going over foreign policy. Okay, Donald Trump's foreign policy was garbage. It probably put us on a path to World War III more than any other president recently. There you go.
And I will continue. Yeah, well, I'll keep it short. My timer's on. Since he addressed foreign policy, this second invasion happened under Biden. Trump provided lethal aid. He was the first to Ukraine. Listen, it might not bother you that the Biden family made a lot of money in Ukraine. It does to me, especially when it's leading us towards a global conflict. The reality of the matter is Biden has empowered our enemies. Right, you look at Iran, he lifted sanctions, they're still enriching. China came in, made a peace deal with Saudi Arabia then. Their proxies have never been flush with more money. Same thing happened in Venezuela. He lifted sanctions, they immediately imprisoned their political opposition so they couldn't run and they had to name somebody new. He has weakened America on all fronts. The Monroe Doctrine is essentially dead in the Western Hemisphere. You have China throughout it. You look at Peru, what they build, and you look what's going on with Lula in Brazil. We have never been worse. The global South has left. BRICS has been gaining more members and more participants because we weaponize the U.S. dollar and financial system. If you look at central banks holdings, they don't want to hold dollar assets. Right now, we just have dollar-denominated trade. He has done a lot of firsts that have ended very badly for us and have led to multiple regions. He's allowed, that's my alarm I'm out here, he's made North Korea a threat to us all. Through his policy in Ukraine and not pursuing peace, we now have Russia basically vetoing any of the UN nuclear legislation against North Korea. We have them engaging in barter trade. Now they've signed the security pact.
What was the point of the timer?
Yeah, but it's done. The point of my time is you lied. The Houthis, a ragtag band of rebels, have rerouted global trade, and Egypt's about to collapse. I don't know what you're talking about. Geopolitically, we've never been worse.
Okay, I mean, if you want to bring up any of these geopolitical circumstances, I mean, Donald Trump literally tried to recognize Juan Guaido as the new leader of Venezuela. He basically implicitly supported an attempted coup in that country for absolutely no good reason. You talk about the pullout for Afghanistan. You talk about the deal that was cut there with the Taliban that totally excluded the Afghanistan army, the Afghanistan government from any of those conversations. They didn't even know when the Taliban rolled in that there was certain territory that Trump secretly promised them that they didn't even have any idea of. That was part of the reason why the country collapsed so quickly. The Taliban literally loaded in, and they were like, hey, we actually, we own this. This is part of our agreement that we'd made with the United States that you were excluded from. You talk about all of these foreign affair things. All Donald Trump did was he got photo opportunities with people. He went to North Korea. He got photo ops with Kim. He saluted the North Korean military. For the first time in presidential history, our president saluted another military. And you know what they did right after that? They went and they continued to test their ICBMs. They continued to test their weapons. You think that South Korea, you think Japan felt any safer that Kim was legitimized as a leader on the world stage? She used to walk around the entire continent with those pictures with the U.S. president as Tillerson and Pence come back to the United States, and they say, "Oh my God, what did we do?" Notice that nobody in his old cabinet supports him at all. Why is he running with a new vice president? Why does he have any support from any of his old cabinet members? Why is it that nobody that's ever worked with Donald Trump in his prior administration is willing to vouch for him again? Why is that if he was such a great president, such a great leader?
Yeah, I think you fail to differentiate between Trump and people who support him in the party. We're not fans of Mitch McConnell. We're not fans of George W. Bush. We don't care about Lindsey Graham. We don't like Paul Ryan. The truth of the matter is Trump ran and basically took over the Republican Party, but he didn't have the apparatus or the people to back him up. A lot of these people are traitors. They admitted after they left office that they lied about troop withdrawals in Syria. On top of that, for Afghanistan, Trump had clear parameters that had to be met. Biden removed the Air Force, removed repairs, and he had the Taliban walking in, and he provided absolutely no support to the Afghani government. Like, let's just be honest. I'll keep this short just because it's literally insane. And China literally walked in. You have to actually imagine at this point, with all the Chinese business deals, how come they seem to be ending up on the winning side of every geopolitical issue? They ended up on the winning side of Afghanistan. In the Middle East, they've consolidated their control in the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, and other Gulf Arab states. You look at the same thing in the global south. This has not been a benefit to U.S. policy or strength globally. And anybody who says otherwise is lying. It's not going well. It hasn't been going well. If you think it has, then hopefully Biden wins and you end up in a field in eastern Ukraine come this winter.
Yeah, when you say that Trump ran because he didn't have the apparatus to back them up, I mean, you can say that, but I mean, that in and of itself is an immediately disqualifying statement. When you talk about a guy running because he's a good business leader, because he's a good CEO, because he's going to run the country like a business, the last thing that a leader does is blame the people that he chose to run underneath him. If Donald Trump is going to run on the fact that he's a businessman, then he should be held accountable like a businessman. I can't think of something more humiliating.
Work, right?
I can't think of something more humiliating. I can't think of something more humiliating than blaming every single person underneath me for my incompetence. And what do you mean, do I know how appointments work? You mean how Senate confirmations work? Because the appointment can be anybody that Donald Trump chooses. It's up to the Senate. It's up to the Senate. It's up to the Senate to confirm the appointment. It's up to the Senate to confirm the appointment. It's up to the Senate to confirm the appointment. If Donald Trump couldn't appoint the people that he wanted to, then he shouldn't have appointed anyone. He should have said, oh, well, I guess I can't do the job, and then put the ball in McConnell's court. He didn't do that because Donald Trump is an incapable leader. He doesn't know how to do politics. He doesn't know how to choose the people around him. Nobody said that he had to have Pence as his vice president.
Can we get back to the 60-second format? Jesus Christ.
Well, sure, but he can't. I mean, he keeps screaming over me. You can read the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction. You can read the report. You can read why that pullout
I have
failed.
it up there.
It wasn't because
of
Biden's pullout. It was because of the fact that Donald Trump had cut an agreement with the Taliban. He had put that pullout on a timetable, and when he left office, he drew our troop numbers down to the lowest they had ever been, and then he left. So what was Biden supposed to do after that? What, put the troop number back up for the problem that Trump kicked down the road, the can that he kicked down the road then for Biden to deal with?
Maybe use the Air Force, maybe provide support for the machinery.
And get back into and fight more against the Taliban and get into another war in the Middle East?
Yeah, if they're overtaking the country and you're trying to withdraw and it ends up killing 30 Marines, and then you go kill a poor aid worker and claim it's ISIS-K, I don't look at that as a victory. I know you don't care about innocent.
Maybe Trump should have had that in the agreement.
Whether it's an worker in Afghanistan or some poor fireman trying to attend the rally, I don't think they should be killed, whether it's by Biden or somebody who hates Trump. I'm sorry, your points don't make any sense. And the report, if you looked at it, they
What about
talked
the
about
Kurds
the
in Syria?
pervasive corruption. What about the Kurds in Syria?
The ones that Trump
What about
abandoned for absolutely no reason.
abandoned for no reason? We should have never been in Syria, right? The
You see how you just
we
didn't answer
created-
my question? We also shouldn't have been in Afghanistan, but you're fine to blame Biden for anything that happened after that.
I'm not aware of a mass genocide of the Kurds.
You're not aware of the Turkish coming in and bombing the people that we'd relied on for support for our positions in Syria for over a year? Oh, okay. Okay, that's convenient. Okay, nice.
I care about America. If you want to fight
very
for the
selective.
Kurdish
Oh, I thought you were just talking about the Middle East.
It is selective.
I thought you
It's
said an
called
innocent
America.
person anywhere. I thought you said innocent people in
Go fight
Afghanistan.
for the
Is it not an
Palestinian
innocent person
homeland.
anywhere now?
You're up here talking about Israel all the time. Now you care about Kurdish statehood? Go fight for it. If you want it, go do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is not a priority.
You're the one that said innocence everywhere. So my bad. I got confused for a second, I guess.
No, I'm talking about when our president says he kills a terrorist and it was an aid worker that actually assisted U.S. forces in Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
You know that one.
But when Donald Trump says he wants to kill the families of terrorists, those are just funny memes.
Yeah, if they're terrorists, then it is what it is.
Families of terrorists? Families of terrorists?
You're sleep over Soleimani?
The
I don't know.
families
You're
of
the one who's
terrorists?
up here defending
I don't
Israel
know.
every other day.
That's not an answer. When Donald Trump says that he wants to kill the families of terrorists, do you think that was a good message? Do you think that was responsible?
I mean, listen, if you can't hit the target and it's only in a certain position and it's targeted, yeah. I mean, in certain instances,
So
I
you
agree
support
with that,
Donald? Okay, then don't sit here and pretend that you
you're
think
drawing an
supporting...
equivalency between that and a psycho killing a fireman at a rally.
I didn't draw an equivalency anywhere. I just asked if you supported Donald Trump stating that he would kill the family members of terrorists. Seems like your answer is yes, so I don't know why
Well,
you're
it's better than Biden
crying.
killing aid workers.
What a crazy whataboutism there.
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah. So I guess you don't like either
Crazy
of them.
whataboutism.
Huh.
You haven't
I wonder how
made
much
one
you've been
point.
critical of Donald Trump over Joe Biden when it comes to talking about targeting innocent people.
Yeah, well, what do you mean target? You have Hillary Clinton on CNN laughing with Christine Yamanpour how they want to throw Trump supporters and fucking re-education camps. You have literally Biden weaponizing
I'm not
the
going to vote for Hillary next election.
You have Biden weaponizing the DHS
I'm not going to vote for Hillary or
to go
Hunter
after
Biden.
Trump. He doesn't like it. He can't take facts. He tries it a little bit.
Facts.
Trump,
like the
Biden
insurrection
was
that Donald
caught
Trump
trying
read
to
on
weaponize
2020.
the DHS.
Uh-huh.
Pelosi
All right.
tried to
Calm down. No more
Capitol
screaming.
Police. She tried to nationalize Capitol Police into an intelligence service. They're going after fucking Catholics, school board parents. Yeah, you're a real hero there, Destiny. You're the moderate. You want to chop off little kids' penises. You're the moderate in the room.
Nice.
Jesus.
Yep, Donald Trump, he had 7 different sets of people lie and send in fake electoral votes to Congress. He told his vice president that he wanted him to choose the fake electoral votes. He went by a plot hatched by Eastman. We've all seen the memo. We've all seen what they tried to do. And when that failed, he tried to use violence to encourage Pence to flip the vote. When that failed, and he reluctantly accepted it, and he tweeted out, okay, guys, you can go home. That's why they left at 6 o'clock, by the way, not because they had to be home for dinner, but because Donald Trump finally begrudgingly got on his Twitter account and made that announcement that they needed to go home. After all of that, Donald Trump's defense for himself wasn't to say, I didn't do this. It wasn't to say that, well, what I was doing wasn't bad. It wasn't to say, well, they got some of the facts wrong. What he did was he went before the Supreme Court and he said, I need criminal immunity from every action that I just did. I need criminal immunity. If I wasn't impeached for it, you can't hold me criminally liable for it. I think that speaks more to the nature of the actions that Donald Trump did than any excuse you can make for him on any platform that you're on.
That's not it. I mean, you realize this same standard basically applies to business executives, like the business judgment rule. As chief executive, he's allowed to investigate. Yeah, you're allowed to. If you are going to have every decision you make attacked, you cannot govern a government and you cannot run a business. Election integrity issues existed, whether you want to believe they do or not. They're still popping their head literally in the last couple of weeks.
I'm sorry.
So yes, it did fall under his official duty.
Yeah,
correct.
So you're saying business leaders can't be charged with crimes? They
No,
enjoy
that's not my point.
absolute criminal immunity? So you're saying that
Genius.
maybe
not-
it's good.
It's called,
maybe
no, you're not listening. It's going over your head. It's pretty sad.
No, it's not.
You give certain deference that can be argued as an executive decision under business, or here as an executive running a government, because you have to give deference to certain decisions.
We don't. You actually don't need to give. You don't need to give criminal deference. You don't need to have criminal deference given. There isn't criminal deference given to business leaders. You don't need to give criminal deference ever. You know why? Because criminal laws exist for a good reason, and the public has an interest in not only other members of the public not committing crimes, but especially in the leader of the public, the president of the United States, not committing crimes. I don't believe that he needs deference because committing crimes
what crime did he commit?
is not in the
you were
purview.
talking about January 6th.
What crime did he commit? Well, we're not allowed to talk about them now, I guess.
Then it's a celebration. Congratulations. Enjoy the
Yeah, I
moment.
guess,
Relax.
yeah, it
You
is.
can have a
No,
good
I'm
time.
good. I actually personally don't like to exist under a man who believes that he's above criminal court. Because you know what? When you take a man and you make him a king, what's the way that you get rid of the king? How do you say that this isn't turning up
Who
the
made him a
violence?
king? You made him a
Himself.
martyr.
He's not a martyr. He's
You've
not
had
dead. So,
George
excuse me. You know he's
Soros
not dead, right?
DAs.
You know that he's
You got
actually
a
not
DA.
dead, right? You know Trump's still alive, right?
Yeah, you could still be a martyr and undergo a number of shit without actually dying. You know,
Okay,
it's possible to have
I don't think that Trump is a martyr, okay, because he had a bloody ear. I
No,
think I don't
my
think he's a
point is
martyr
that
right
you've
now.
made him.
No, I think the Supreme Court made him. When the Supreme Court said that he's beyond criminal, when he's beyond criminal
The
probing, I think the
polls
Supreme
don't
Court
agree with
made
you.
him
There's
a
been
king.
multiple polls. You can scream. There's been multiple
my
polls. America agrees with me. You're in the minority. They view this as politically weaponized pursuit of Trump under the judicial system.
That's
So
great
the
because
polls
people
show
like you lie about
but
it,
you're
and
in the
that's great, and that's
minority.
why I'm here.
Why you
That's
scream.
fine. That's why
Your
I'm here
message
fighting for
isn't
it.
working.
You think
Your
hold on,
message
wait. I
isn't
thought we didn't
working.
agree. I thought we
You're
didn't agree with the
losing.
polls. Now we
You're
agree in the
losing.
polls. That's great. I can be in the minority and say that I don't actually appreciate an insurrection in the United States. Maybe a majority of Americans do support that now.
You
I'll
called
continue
it a
to speak out
riot
against it.
before. Nobody's been charged with
I said that
insurrection.
it
Stop
was
using
a.
that.
I said that it was
Are
a.
you
It was
trying
a
to get a
riot.
job on
It was a
MSNBC? How much
riot.
propaganda
It
are
was
you
a
gonna push?
riot that was trying to obstruct the certification of the vote. That makes it an insurrection. Just like a stabbing of somebody with the intent to kill them makes it attempted murder.
Well, then why haven't they charged it, and why hasn't the Supreme Court disagrees with you? I'm confused. Why haven't they charged
I don't believe
it
the Supreme Court has made a ruling on whether or not Donald Trump was guilty of
Well,
any
they
of the
made
crimes
a
that he was
ruling
charged with.
that the
and I
most
don't think that
significant felony charge they said should not apply in this instance.
that's great.
in most
I don't think that
Yeah.
whether or not Donald Trump has engaged in insurrection isn't really material to a lot of the questions relating to the current cases that he's facing. For instance, for the New York one that just got tossed, that wasn't even mainly about the willful retention of national defense secrets. It was mainly about the obstruction, but that's tossed now. The question isn't did he incite a riot or did he engage in insurrection? I think wisely, I think Jack Smith avoided a lot of those questions because what probably is a lot harder to convict on those things and gets us into really weird First Amendment territory. But the fact that we can't even speak about the conspiracy to defraud the United States, we can't speak about that conspiracy where he made a plan from start to finish to carry out an insurrection, I think is a tragedy to the American people.
Yeah, think tanks and lawyers can give advice. I mean, I'm sure you've read about what Podesta's plan was for 2020, right? He was going to have an alternate slate of electors. He was going to wait for Oregon or California.
Oh,
to
yeah?
secede.
Who carried that
And,
out?
yeah, you've read that.
Who
I mean, you're
carried
well
that
read.
out?
You
Who
can
carried
go
that
there.
out? Who carried that out?
But you
Who
don't,
carried
you don't
that out?
understand.
Prodigal, who
Just
carried
like
that
you
out?
had-
Who
just-
carried that
let
out?
me finish. Just like you had a novel legal thing. Those riots stopped that.
Who
Like, the
carried that out?
certification should-
Who
certification
carried out
should
the
have been
Podesta
stopped.
plan? Who carried out the
It should have
Podesta
been
plan?
spent- It should have been sent back to the states to
No,
ensure
it
the
shouldn't have been.
integrity.
No, that's
The
not what
riot
that's for. That's
actually
not what the
ended that. As
certification
soon
is
as the
for.
riot happened, anybody with a brain knew this is over. Nobody's going to touch it. So you're pointing to this as if this was the plan of Trump supporters. I'm telling you right now, I'm a Trump supporter, and anybody who saw violence on the Capitol that day knew as soon as that occurred that any of the concerns they had about election integrity were over. And that's what we saw. We saw a number of reps and other senators
That's
who would
great.
have voted to
Yep.
say, it's the truth, who
Yeah,
would have
no, it's
voted
not the
to say,
truth.
let the states double check this and ensure it's right. They
Yep.
couldn't do it no longer at that point.
Yep,
And
that's
you're well
great.
aware.
Yep.
You're well aware. You can look at the Washington
Who did?
Post.
Who tried to carry out the Podesta plan that you brought up? Can you tell me who?
Multiple.
Why don't you just answer that
Here,
simple
I'll-
question?
I'll-
Can you just
I'll
answer that?
answer
You can
this.
keep rambling. Just answer that question. Who tried to carry out Podesta's plan?
Well, they ended up stopping voting and winning, so they didn't have to. But they had to
Who
plan
ended
that,
up?
right?
Oh, so nobody? They didn't try. How could they have executed the plan when the votes are being certified if they didn't do it in advance?
So you're saying Trump's plan was to have a riot so that Congress would never hear any of the issues. That's what you're arguing the logic was?
Yes,
That's
it
what
was to pressure Pence
Then
to make
you're
the right
100%
choice.
wrong.
That's
that
why.
was not the
Why?
plan.
Then
He
what
said,
did Trump
"Raise
mean?
your voices
What did Trump?
peacefully heard."
What was Trump telling people to encourage Pence to do? What
He
did he
said,
mean by
"Make
that?
your voices
What did he mean?
peacefully heard."
Yes, thank you
What
for
are you talking
repeating
about?
that.
You're
What were they
talking about
trying to pressure
voices.
Pence for?
Yeah.
Hey, Prodigal, what were they trying to pressure Pence to do? Answer that question. What were they trying to
To
pressure Pence to do?
consider a valid legal theory, in my opinion. That's
A
why.
valid
And that's
legal
why
theory?
If it
A
wa- if
valid
it wasn't,
legal theory?
yeah,
One that
that is the- if
required
it wasn't
that the
valid, they
ECA
wouldn't
was
have to have
unconstitutional.
passed the law. Can I say one thing? If it wasn't valid, they wouldn't have had to pass a fucking law to say you can no longer do this.
That's not
so it
how
was a
laws
viable
work
theory.
at all. No.
That's not true. They
Their
didn't
theory,
pass that.
Their
What
theory,
are you talking
their
about?
theory
You're lying.
relied on the ECA being
No,
unconstitutional.
I'm talking
and
about
Pence
after
disagreed.
the election.
I know
All
you're
right, let's
talking about
scream,
them
let's
as
screaming
fast as you
multiplication.
Basically,
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Okay.
The Congress outlawed this novel legal theory after the election. That is yes.
No.
So if
No,
it
they
wasn't
didn't. No.
viable, should I post it up top? Do I need to? You can
You
use the
can't
Google search.
outlaw something. Eastman's entire plot was
They
contrived.
changed the
Eastman's
certification
entire
process.
plot.
They passed new laws regulating this.
Eastman's entire plot hinged on the idea that they could challenge the constitutionality of established law. Constitutionality exists above
Yeah,
the law.
peacefully,
The fact that peaceful
peacefully.
doesn't matter when you're trying to overturn the election results.
Doesn't matter?
But
What are you
anyway,
talking about?
just to be clear, fuck you. Fuck the guy that got shot at the rally. This is why I don't give a fuck about showing
It's
sympathy.
not a joke.
This is why I
Yeah.
don't
It's
give
not
a
a
fuck. This is why I don't give a fuck about the sympathy for any of you fucking losers, because you won't own up
Listen,
to
don't
anything.
take it out on me because your
You
wife
won't own
left you,
up to
Fester. You have
anything.
the
Nobody is talking about my
All right,
ex.
all
That's
right,
great
all
if
right,
you're
all right.
joking.
Everybody,
Oh
calm
my God,
down.
and he mutes
Jesus
me. Fuck
Christ.
me.
You got the skin complexion of Uncle Fester. Go worry about
That's
your
great,
ex-wife.
and you've got the
Stop acting
voice
like a big
tone of a
man.
guy with an A1C of 15. Okay, good for you.
That's fine. I don't even know what that means. God bless.
I'm sure you
Sounds
don't.
good.
That's why your feet are about to fall off, dipshit. Oh fuck, he muted me again.
Oh
Okay,
my God.
listen, all I'm
Go
saying
play-
is,
go
all
play
I'm
some
saying
video
is, all I'm
games and
saying
talk about
is-
Israel. You
all
got
I'm
nothing else to
saying-
add
yeah,
to the
and go talk
conversation.
and go obsess over trans people for another 2 fucking years while you obsess over which light beer you decide not to drink. Okay?
Yeah, when my next generation of my family is having to play against them and having scholarships taken away because they're actually good in ball and sports, I know you might not play that shit,
Yeah.
then yeah, it affects them.
Yeah,
I have
and
a
when the
problem
next
with that.
generation of your family can't play sports because they're all fucking inbred, okay? We can talk about that too, all right? Listen,
No, I doubt
if
that.
Yeah, where did
conservatives,
this
if
come from?
conservatives are unwilling to take responsibility, even for January 6th, of which there's more documented evidence than like
I've
any other
said
fucking
multiple
event in
times,
all of fucking
anybody
human
violent
history,
should be
I'm
charged.
good on being held to any standard by these people. That's my entire argument. So thank you for bringing up the political substance of it. Any final
Well,
questions or
listen,
anything?
I'm happy you want to sexualize prepubescent children. That's a really good use of
weird and really
resources
gross. The only
when
one
they
that's
have
talking
record
about
low testing scores.
that's
What?
really weird. All right, do you think about sexualizing
Okay.
prepubescent people
So
often?
how do we
or-
get into this? Okay, how did we get into this?
I have
Let's
no
not get
idea.
into that.
Yeah, kind of weird, really strange.
It's your party
Okay, let's not
platform, I
talk about
thought.
anything child related. How about that?
Yeah, that'd probably be good. Prodigal really wants to go there, though.
What the fuck? I don't really know if anyone wants to go anywhere. Okay, what else do we want to discuss here? Okay, we have a debate with a very contrarian debate with more of a focus on politics. That's something that I actually wanted to ask you a bit early on, but didn't get the chance to because we kind of drifted away from that. Kind of at fault of myself. Who would be your ultimate president of the options that currently exist?
My ultimate president? I'm not even entirely sure. I would have to do I've heard of people like Newsom. I'm aware of his history as governor of California, and I know that he speaks well. But I would have to see an explicit platform laid out. What do you think are the good things to do policy-wise for this country? Because that's what I would vote on a candidate for. In terms of the options. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Continue.
I was going to say, in terms of the options available in front of us now, I mean, it seems like you basically have 3 options. It seems like you either have Trump or you have Biden, or if Biden steps down, you have Kamala Harris. I mean, between Biden and Harris, my guess is going to be... Because I don't know if Harris has a chance of winning on a broad platform, maybe. But, I mean, between the two, I imagine their platforms would be relatively similar. I would obviously vote for either of them way before I'd vote for Donald Trump, so...
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, he mentioned Newsom, which this is a guy who California is wanting, what is it now, a $70 billion deficit? This is a guy who took San Francisco, which was the goose that laid the golden eggs through big tech, that pushed all this leftist bullshit throughout the country, and he basically bankrupted and destroyed the city. This is who he thinks will be a good president. California has record homelessness. It's in the dumpsters. It's barely built any infrastructure. How long have they been building that bullet train? They haven't barely built any reservoirs since the 70s, and their population has quadrupled. If you care about bullshit platitudes and nothing that actually makes your life better, you should listen to Destiny, because Newsom is nothing but a snake oil salesman. He screwed his best friend's wife. I mean, maybe Destiny likes that. I don't know. But he's not a good man.
Yeah, so it's interesting. If you bring up infrastructure and balanced budgets, it sounds like you're a Biden supporter. Donald Trump ran, and he spoke a lot about getting an infrastructure bill passed. He couldn't do it. Even when he had majorities in both halves of Congress.
Is that why Boeing's flying out of the sky in East Palestine is having train derailments and barges are collapsing
He
bridges?
couldn't pass the infrastructure bill. And when you talk about budgets, Donald Trump ran the largest budget deficit in all of presidential history.
When
for
the
no
Democrats
reason.
shut the nation,
for
when they shut the
absolutely no
nation
reason. He didn't need to do it. He did tax cuts, and he didn't pair it with budget cuts. And Donald Trump ran huge way before COVID. He was running massive budget deficits. So if your concern is the budget and infrastructure, Donald Trump absolutely can't be the guy that you're going with.
No, I mean, you do realize that there's people in both the left and the right who really don't give a shit about this country and care about big pharma, military contractors, etc. There's a reason why none of his platform passed. He asked for a couple billion for the wall. Paul Ryan went on his own tangent. You keep on talking as if Trump has control over the party. It's starting now since Lara, has ascended to the top of the RNC, but this is still an ongoing process. There's been never Trumpers, and there still are, because they benefit off of the destruction and extraction of wealth and lies from this country. And this isn't limited to the left. This exists on the right. It exists in spades. Right. So I think these arguments about what Trump could viably do and what Newsom is responsible for in California are incomparable. And this is the last point. That major deficit you saw was the last year after the government basically had closed. Most of the blue states had already closed at that point. They shut down. They had no choice. The economy would collapse. Right now, Biden is telling you the economy has never been better, and we're in peacetime, and we're running record deficits during peacetime and alleged economic boom. What the hell you think is going to happen eventually? Like, the economy is not as good as you say it is. This is propped up through natural gas, oil, a bunch of illegals being in the country, and arms being shipped overseas. Ordinary Americans are not suffering. GDP is meaningless when you let in 13 million people that consume services and goods. It just adds to the bottom line. When you look at the actual health of Americans from Gen Z onward, right? Even the boomers are seeing record homelessness. Americans are not doing well. Like, you're talking about all these other platitudes that really in reality matter. If Biden loses, it's because most people's lives, if they didn't have assets and they didn't get past this inflation nightmare that he's created, they're not doing well, and that's why they're going to vote. No,
Yeah,
you
the
look at the
economy's
polling.
doing the economy.
This
Yeah,
is
nothing you're
overwhelming.
saying. Yeah, the poll. I know the polling is something, but nothing you're saying is traced to reality. You can complain about the economy shutting down. The first 2 years of Trump's budgets, his deficits were larger than every single
Yeah.
budget that Obama proposed for the last 4 years of his administration. I thought Republicans were supposed to be the reduce the tax but reduce the spending. They didn't. All Donald Trump did was deficit spend. That's all he did. The only part of his economy they take credit for, because it was already booming. We were hitting all-time highs in the markets from 2013 onwards, even under Obama. Trump carried on the trend, and all he did was he engaged in even more deficit spending. That thing that conservatives are supposed to hate, except for when their people do it. And that was way before the country closed from COVID.
Except that real wages actually increased, and for women, minorities, they saw record increases in wages, and even blue collar wages outpaced white collar wages before COVID-19.
Wow,
The
wages
economy
were
was doing well.
increasing when the government was deficit spending? Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
well, that
Wow,
hasn't
that's
happened under
insane.
Biden. That happened.
Wow,
You've
wages
lost
are higher now than
20%
they were
under
under
Biden.
Trump.
Yeah.
Everything has grown. The economy's at a higher state now than it was under Trump
I'm
at
not
any
talking
point.
about nominal wages. I'm talking about purchasing
Talking about,
power.
yeah, I'm talking
You've
about
lost-
real wages
Yeah,
as
you've
well.
lost
Yep.
20%. Everybody
yep.
has lost 20% under Biden. That's a fact. That's his own treasury. That's statistics out of the Bureau of Labor. These are all Biden stats. These are not shit I'm making up. What are you talking right now?
You
Student
just
loan
said
payments
that the only
are
reason
almost
Trump
half.
ran a high deficit was because of COVID. His deficits
Yeah,
were
if you look at- if
monumental
you look-
prior to
it-
that. You're
yeah,
just making shit up. You're just
Well,
picking and
yeah, what are
choosing
you? I'm
stats.
not making shit up. I said the last year, that deficit, you see a major deficit. The economy was closed. Look at what Biden's been running with the economy open. That was, if there was ever emergency spending, when they closed us all down for the COVID hoax, that was the time, because everybody was going to go bankrupt. And a lot of people did go bankrupt, right? Biden didn't have that. He didn't need that. Right? He's spending this when he's telling you you're never doing better, when you're seeing record increases in the inability to buy home. Home affordability is the lowest it's been in almost 20 years. Right? You look at other major stats, they're not good. Look at delinquencies in car payments. Look at delinquencies in credit cards. Look at 401k hardship withdrawals. This is all factual data that's not coming out of fucking Breitbart. This is out of the administration and other major corporate press releases. And I could put them up top, but I shouldn't need to, because you went on how well educated you are and you understand this.
If you want to break down any particular economic indicator and you want to go over the state of the economy, we could set that debate up. Absolutely, no problem. I don't have every talking point memorized right now for that, but if you want to dive through any of what any of
Just
these
write
reserves
it
are
down.
publishing,
I don't write anything down. I don't.
Trust
When
me,
it's the
I know.
truth,
Trust
I don't
me.
need
Yeah,
to
when
write
you
it
lie
down.
about shit all the
When
time,
it's
you don't
the
have to lie
truth,
to
you
things
don't
down.
need
You
to
don't
write it
remember the
down.
shit you said. Yeah. Tell me, in the next election, let's say that it comes out that Democrats somehow end up winning. Would you support it if Donald Trump and I guess Vance were to find some way, or if Senate Republicans were to find some way to delay the certification of the vote or resist the certification of the vote? Would you support that?
That's a very fact-intensive pattern. I don't know. I wouldn't like to speculate at this point.
Okay. So if let's say that they launched some court cases, and let's say that they all failed up to the certification of the vote, would you support them if they still felt like they had questions about the vote? They feel like they had questions that it wasn't legitimate. Would you support them trying to delay the certification of the
I think
election?
it depends. Yeah, I do. If voting stops in the middle of the night and they tell poll workers to go home and vote dumps start over the next couple of weeks and Biden makes up the deficit, yeah, I'd have an issue with it. And I'd hope, unlike 2020, listen, judges and attorneys are normal people. right? They have their own fears, their own biases, etc. So this is a hot potato case that really nobody wanted to touch in 2020.
And you
Right?
think
Nobody.
all the judges in 2020 just didn't want to deal with it. Even the Trump appointees, all of them said, "Nah, sorry, too hot for us."
Correct. I do think so because I think there would have been
Mm-hmm.
violence on either side. I think as easily if Trump had won on some of these merits, you would have seen Antifa and BLM burning down the country. And we've actually seen
Mm-hmm.
some documentation from NGOs that basically said the same.
And you think that the
I mean, it wasn't Podesta's plan. You
okay.
remember that?
Sure.
The
And you
Times
think
covered
that we couldn't trust Congress to figure out if the vote was certified correctly or not? We couldn't just trust them to just certify the
No,
vote?
I'm not a big fan of government. I think
Mm-hmm.
they do a lot of things poorly. That's
Okay.
why I like Trump and Schedule
Yeah.
F. I think we need to cut down the bureaucracy.
And we
I
can't
don't think
trust.
the EPA should be charging
Sure.
farmers for how much their cows fart
Mm-hmm.
or doing other asinine bullshit. Listen, to my knowledge, dropping
Wait, hold on
bombs
real quick.
in Ukraine
Could we
and the
trust?
Middle
We
East
don't need to talk about
cause
Ukraine.
a lot of pollution.
And you don't
How
trust
come
William
that
Barr?
How come
Yeah.
that
I
pollution
don't
doesn't
care.
count?
You don't trust.
How
You
come
don't
the
trust. You
bombs
don't
in the
trust
Middle East?
William Barr.
All right, one after another, one after another. Okay, we've gone to bombs. Let's go to Destiny real quick.
Sure. Just like two more final questions, then I'm done. You don't trust Barr? You don't trust what Bill Barr was saying, that he didn't see evidence of voter fraud based on what the FBI said?
No, because U.S. attorneys come out and said Barr gave a stand down order. Moreover, I never liked Barr. I thought it was weird his father hired Jeffrey Epstein in New York City to be a school teacher at that academy and prep school. I think Bill Barr has a lot of issues. Bill Barr is a W man.
Okay.
He's an HW man. He's an old Bush neocon, and you know the Bush family. I mean, they're CIA bred. So no, I don't like Bill Barr. You might.
Just
I don't
curious,
know.
what is your? Are you like I'm not asking this. I'm genuinely curious. Are you like a content creator or pundit, or what do you do? Or are you just like do you just
No, I just post news. I'm probably done after this election.
just posting? Okay.
Either way it goes. Listen, I don't even think maybe Trump can improve the economy at this point. The U.S. is a very advanced machine. There's a lot of policies and money invested. They put a lot of money in a lot of green tech and cut corners elsewhere. And this is something that I think is going to be complicated. I think if Trump or Biden wins, I think that next term is really going to be hard for both of them. I think America is not in a great position geopolitically,
Yeah, I understand.
economically.
Okay, so just as a bow on all of this, I guess. I guess what I want people to understand when they hear people say things with a nice tone of voice and they don't think about the content of what's being said. So you just said that you didn't trust the judiciary to make any decisions about the election. You clearly didn't trust.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
No,
That's not what I
you said that you didn't trust them because they thought that the temperature was too high and that all of them rejected the cases for political reasons. That's what you said. And
No, that's not what I said.
At this point, I don't care for clarification. They can rewind if they want to listen to it. But you said that they rejected those cases for political reasons. So you don't trust the judiciary. You don't trust Congress. You said you don't really trust government. So you don't trust Congress to make the right decisions, and you don't even trust the DOJ to make the correct decisions. What you want, what you're asking for, and Adrian, what I had asserted earlier, was that Republicans want to anoint a king. What you're asking for is a king, a dictator. You don't trust any of the two branches of government, and you don't even trust the Department of Justice or the FBI. You want one man at the head of the executive, your king/dictator, who's now been granted criminal immunity from the Supreme Court
I want
to
fucking
make
nothing. I have
all
no
of the
position.
decisions. Not you. I'm talking about Prodigal. I'm saying that that's what you want. You want an emperor, and you just spelled it out perfectly.
No, that's not what I did. I mean, you're a lefty. There's a lot of stuff the left and the right can work on. The too big to fail banks are even bigger. There's been massive consolidation, whether it's from meat packing.
I don't care about any of this. I don't care
no,
about
but
any of this. We have nothing that we no. I don't. We have nothing to work together on. I don't work together with people that
so
want
you're
an emperor.
pro-war
I don't want
and
a
you're
person who's a king. I'm anti-king.
You're pro-war and
I'm
pro-monopoly.
anti-king.
That's good.
I'm pro-democracy. I'm pro-democratic republic.
Anti-king?
I'm pro
You literally
separation
had
of
multiple
powers.
coups. You had multiple
Separation of
coups.
powers.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, one after another. Come on, man.
It's just weird. I mean, literally, he's like, do you trust the DOJ? I don't know. Should I trust the DOJ, FBI, and CIA that hit John Brennan's handwritten note admitting that Hillary Clinton, the DNC, funded the Steele dossier and the Russiagate hoax? Why did I have to wait? Not when Mueller talked, but basically for fucking Nunes to retire and become DNI to declassify material they had when they let people like you and fucking Rachel Maddow on Corporate Media News for years claim Trump was a Russian spy. He's a Russian asset.
Why do you trust Donald Trump?
I don't necessarily trust him. You know what I trust? I trust his desire to write his name and to deal with these corrupt criminals that nobody wants to
trusting
touch.
him. Why do you trust him? Why do you trust Donald Trump to not be
Because
corrupt?
they tried to throw him in jail and they tried to kill him. So either he cleans this mess, or not only him,
That's
but
not.
his
You didn't
friends and
answer
his
anything.
family
Give me an
and his
answer.
children.
Speak
Actually, I
something
did.
real.
I'm
Speak
giving you
something
logic.
true. No, not because of what somebody did to him.
That
Tell me,
is
why do you
100%
trust Donald
true.
Trump?
Don't get mad. I just told you, I trust in his desire and need to deal with these corrupt elements in government that hamstringed his first presidency, went after him and anybody around him and his sons, and now
He could
have
deal with
led
that in
to
corrupt
rhetoric that
ways,
led to
though.
be
That
shot.
doesn't make him honest. That doesn't make him a good president. He could just go after
Yeah,
them
it's not
personally. He could
corrupt.
order
It's not corrupt.
assassinations on
So,
them.
so the lawless, extra legal means and the completely politicized bureaucracy and alphabet boys should be allowed to run rampant. Like this isn't something limited to Trump.
Lawless and extra legal?
Yeah,
You mean about like the
yeah.
absolute criminal immunity that Trump was just granted
No,
to escape him from
no,
all of his
no, like
criminal
the
cases?
like the IRS going after conservative groups under Obama, like
Oh yeah,
Obama
yeah. Mhm.
having Fast and Furious and Eric Holder not answering a subpoena, and then weapons, military grade weapons, being
Mhm.
found in El Chapo's residence when he's found. That seems like a scandal to me. Even when our northern neighbor has now a narco state where 70 politicians get killed every election season, how many reporters are missing? No, these are issues that affect America more than the Middle East and more than Ukraine. We
If
share a
Donald
border
Trump
with Mexico.
isn't corrupt, why did he pardon every single person that was convicted of a crime that he worked with? Why did he pardon Manafort?
Probably for the same reason that the Podesta brother got away. Podesta was
That's not
implicated
an
in
answer.
FARA
Why are we talking about?
violations.
Why are we talking
That
about
is
Podesta? Why are we talking
because the
about Podesta?
weaponized system went after him and used procedural bullshit. I'm sure
Oh,
you've read
you want a
3,000 of
king.
that. Yeah,
You
it's
want a
true.
king. Just admit it. Just say it. I don't
It's
know why
not
you
a
guys would
king.
just be honest. Just say, I want
want
a
the
king.
law. I want the
He's
law to
above
be
the law,
applied
and his
equally.
friends are above the law. He's above the law, and his friends are above the law. He can pardon everyone that he
No,
wants.
he didn't take bit bleach to his servers and hammers to his
That's
Blackberries. He wasn't a
department.
VP.
You
He
know what
wasn't
no,
VP.
excuse me.
He wasn't a
Hillary fully
VP when he
cooperated with
took
all
it.
of those investigations. Donald Trump pled the fifth on everything, and every single person around him
Yeah,
invoked
because he
executive
has
privilege on
ultimate. He
every
doesn't have
single
to put his
thing.
case on.
Yeah,
He
neither did
doesn't have
Hillary
to put his
Clinton.
case on
Neither did
until it
Hillary
gets to
Clinton. She could have
trial.
got an attorney.
She did get attorneys. It's actually in their motions where they
She
admitted it
literally
when
she
they wrote to the court.
cooperated with the police the entire time. She had an attorney for
But
correspondence. She didn't plead
by
the fifth. She didn't
wiping
take
her
the. She didn't
servers,
take. That was
they
department
found
policy.
tens of thousands of
Oh my
emails
God.
later on Anthony Weiner's laptop that she claimed didn't exist. If you
Oh
actually
my
look at the
God.
Comey,
Yeah,
if
and
you look at the Comey
what
medal,
came out of all those emails? What were the crimes committed in all those emails that she was
nothing
hiding?
because they were implicated.
Crazy, because
Because
there
the
were no
DOJ is
crimes. There was
corrupt.
nothing to find.
Yeah,
Crazy how that works, huh?
yeah. Is that how you read the Robert Hur thing? Oh no, Biden has a poor memory. He's a
Now we're jumping
well-meaning old
to
man. He'd
her.
never be.
Man,
No,
we got
I'm
to jump to
talking
so many
about.
Podesta, her, Hillary
It's
Clinton.
called
You know what
about
all
the
these people have in common?
politicization.
None of them are running for
all
president.
right. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah,
It
it's
feels
called
like
the
the
politicization of the
playground.
lawfare. I
How the
talked
fuck is
about
he
this.
talking?
I gave
Anyways,
you 20.
damn, the mute button is completely cooked. I posted a meme saying, "This is what it feels like to be cooked. This space is cooked." I think we're all cooked. Well done. Now it's like we're entering stew territory right now. Okay, let's put some seasoning on this and bring back the decorum, essentially, right? Because I think a lot of that has evaporated. Is there anything else that we can discuss, or
Just
are we
as a
kind
real
of
quick thing, because
like?
I have to 9 o'clock is generally my out time, and I got other stuff that I have to do
Sure,
tonight.
sure.
Yeah, I will just say as a quick thing, I think that this gentleman next to me, I think he laid out everything that he wanted in an emperor. He wanted somebody that was above the judiciary because he doesn't trust them because they're too political. He doesn't trust Congress because he doesn't trust the government, and he doesn't trust the DOJ because he thinks that all of the AGs are too politicized
Says
and
the
they're
guy
untrustworthy.
shitting on the Supreme Court.
But he wants Donald Trump, the president of the United States, who, by the way, has every incentive to lie, cheat, steal, murder, and everything for his own personal gain. He's got the largest financial investment in it, right? He's a billionaire. He hasn't divested from anything. He has the largest personal investment in it because he wants to be the president, the king of the United States. And he's got the largest avoidance of responsibility investment in it. He doesn't want to be held responsible for any of the crimes he's been charged with. So the idea that this guy who has every incentive to lie, cheat, and steal, things that he's essentially been accused of, that he's trying to avoid criminal responsibility for, and things that he's pardoned every single member of his inner circle that has been convicted of crimes, okay, not charged, but convicted of crimes. He's pardoned all of them. I think shows you the type of leader that Republicans are looking for.
Yeah, so for that reason, Destiny thinks that innocent firefighters should die a gruesome death trying to protect their family from a mad gunman. You're a hero, man. I gotta admit, good content. I like that you went for the shock value. None of what you said I agree with. The reality of the matter is it is weaponized. When you have the DOJ altering emails to you know this, right? The FISA court almost never issues public statements. They had to literally admonish the DOJ and the FBI for lying to them to get warrants against basically members of a running presidential campaign and a president. Like this has occurred. You might view these as small things. These were unprecedented. And it came out later, it was all based on lies. And there's been no accountability. Just like COVID, just like the mandates, just like the lockdowns, you want everybody to move on. And the only point is Trump is Hitler, Trump is the worst. Well, I'll tell you this, most Americans look fondly up other than to the COVID days of the Trump presidency, and that's why he's going to win, because nobody's buying what you're selling. But I like the passion.
Okay.
Well, thanks for the space. I'll chat with you later, buddy.
Cool.
USA,
Sure.
USA.
All right. I think this has been super fucking crazy. I think we could have potential.
Oof. Okay. Still not as concise as I want it to be, but relatively concise. I don't know what got updated on my box. I updated to the listing of OBS this morning, and I updated to there was a Windows 11 update, but I am reformatting my computer, so hopefully it all works for tomorrow. I don't know why my shit was freezing so much. Is Boogie's show still live? Does anybody know? Nobody's saying anything. Okay, fuck. Well, because I would hop in and I'll fight with Boogie and them if his show is live, but I don't know if Boogie said he lied. Did he? Quick react to Boogie talking shit.
Dramatuber.
Yeah, Destiny's
just a dramatuber.
Destiny's a fucking lol cow. I've looked into that guy.
Oh, let me say as a quick thing while I've got people here, because I think I have more people here than I did yesterday who might have heard this. The issue with Boogie is Boogie claimed for 2 years that he had cancer. Boogie made the claim that for 2 years he had a rare blood cancer called polycythemia vera. But the problem is when Boogie spoke about the risk factors that he had, the fact that he was obese, he mentioned specifically that he was on TRT and his doctor told him that it was a risk factor, and that after he was diagnosed with this, they wanted to put him on a sleep study. All of those things point to something called secondary polycythemia, which is not a blood cancer. It's when your body produces more red blood cells because it elevates a hormone in your body because you're not getting enough oxygen in your blood. And the lack of oxygen could be caused by TRT or could be caused by just not breathing enough, which is what happens when you have sleep apnea. Now, despite those things that I'm saying now, despite the things that Boogie's saying, Boogie still could have had that cancer. It's possible, okay? It is possible. That's why when I confronted him on the show, that's why the very first question I asked very clearly, I think you can go back and watch it, I think I said, Boogie, did your doctor ever tell you that you had cancer? Did he ever tell you that? That was why I asked, because I wanted to see how he would respond. And the fact that he squirmed and wiggled there meant that his doctor hadn't told him, which means he never got a cancer diagnosis. Now, does Boogie have cancer? Maybe. He might. Does he have polycythemia vera? Based on what he said, almost certainly not. Because if he had polycythemia vera, one of the things that he said in that conversation over and over again, one of the indicators against having it is if you have an elevation of red blood cells, but you have an elevation of the hormone that makes your body produce more red blood cells, and he kept saying my hormone levels were elevated, I have an elevation of this hormone, that means that you don't have polycythemia vera. When they look for that cancer, what they're looking for is a reduction in that hormone, but you still having a bunch of red blood cells, because that would say, wait, why is your body making more even though your body isn't getting the hormone signal to do it? Ah, it's a cancer. If he did have it, I think there are 2 ways generally, 2 or 3 ways, I think, that count as diagnostically relevant, or it would be like the diagnostic elements are meant to diagnose somebody with a disease. One is an elevation of red blood cells with a reduction or a lower level of that blood cell producing hormone, which is the opposite of what he said. The second way would be with a bone biopsy, which they don't have to do. I don't believe they have to do that. And the third way is if you have an elevation of red blood cells, I think just that, and the JAK2 mutation on a particular gene that they look for. These are the things that would be diagnostically relevant. He didn't bring up any of these things. If it was the case that he had cancer, none of the arguments that he made furthered it. None of the communication from his doctor seemed to confirm it. And the fact that he was so confidently saying he was looking at a sheet saying that he had it, but he didn't want to show anybody, despite the fact that he had no problem scamming his audience for $5,000, he didn't want to confirm a medical diagnosis that he was already public with. None of that made sense. That's why I was so confidently asserting that he was lying about his diagnosis. It wasn't done just on a solo medical foundation. I don't know if I had done the research to make that assertion. It was done on his character 80% and the medical stuff that he said 20%. But that's the reason why I was so confident in saying, you're faking your cancer diagnosis. I think that that's one of the most disgusting things you can do, that you can sit there and say, oh, I've got cancer and blah, blah, blah. When I've known people that have died of cancer, John Bain, Total Biscuit died of cancer. It's pretty gross. My kid's mom had a pretty serious bout with cancer. And the idea that he can sit here and pretend to be fighting it and then use that as an excuse for his abhorrent behavior, I think is probably one of the most disgusting things you can do online from a self-victimizing standpoint. So I think he deserved to be called out on it, and fuck him for that. Okay, now let me listen to this. It's about 4 minutes long. It's really hard for me to show things on stream because this setup is not usually for this, so I'm just gonna play this. So 1 second.
Yeah, Destiny's
Just a drama tuber.
Destiny's a fucking lolcow. I've looked into that guy over the last couple of days, and whether it's him defending rapists in jail, whether it's him laughing at the murder of a fireman, whether it's him backing Israel, whether it's him saying he's in
What is that really laughing at the murder of a fireman, defending a rapist, supporting Israel? Damn, is that really good? Is that in the same category of things? Jesus.
favor of genocide, and I have all these receipts, by the way. Oh,
Hold
by the
on,
way, hold on. You know, no, if we're gonna talk
I also love when people say receipts. My dog, they're probably YouTube videos published on my channel. Like, these aren't receipts. These are purchases that are sitting in my front yard.
Boogie, I'm sorry. I can take you as seriously as I could take a Destiny right now on the lolcow thing.
Oh no, Destiny's take is he backs Israel and not Palestine.
yeah, you know
Yeah,
why?
yeah.
Because his
Wait, fuck.
wife left him for I'm thinking an Arab man, and so then. No, I'm
Okay,
telling you,
well,
I've been
this is
reading this shit on Twitter all day. By the way, hey,
You
by the
don't
way,
feel better?
Destiny. Hey, by the way, Destiny, when you let your wife fuck other men in front of you, turns out she might leave you for one. Who knew? Who knew, Destiny? By the way, I wanted to show you something real quick.
I just think it's. We just ended. We had. Oh shit. Fuck. Oh, Keemstar says our show's over.
There's a clip I want you to play on here.
Oh God!
I have it on my Twitter feed right now.
Okay.
You remember how Destiny came in to my live stream or to our live stream after Wikipedia clip?
Yeah.
So he gives a fuck if Joe Rogan.
All my DMs and shit are fucking.
What does he
showing.
have?
What do you think?
Oh, we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay, here we go, guys. Here we go, guys.
It's so
let's see,
ridiculous.
let's
Does a Wikipedia search and then just starts going after things like he's an expert.
Yeah.
It's just
I can barely hear
it was a fun
I
time.
can
It's a
hear
really fun time. Yeah, fun time for watching people flail.
Yeah, for sure.
So for those of you who don't know, Joe Rogan said
He's playing a clip of Joe Rogan calling me, talking about Wikipedia and me.
Destiny reads Wikipedia and then acts like an expert. That's what he
That's
said.
what he did with
That's
the puppet.
exactly what he did on our
He did
show.
the same thing. He just read the thing. But that's not why he got you.
No, but
Like how he got you was
Again, listen, there are limits to what Wikipedia can tell you. But if you want to criticize people for using online sources for research, then you have to be able to criticize the substance of what they're saying. Okay? That's the issue. Boogie, if I'm wrong, just say how. We've spent 2 minutes and 44 seconds in this clip. Maybe in an earlier part, maybe he did elaborate on that and I just happened to miss it. But what am I incorrect about then?
money.
Medical records. I'm never going to show my medical records.
Okay.
By the way, I didn't believe he was going to give me $5,000 because here's the thing. I restored my Twitter today for one reason and one reason only. Because you can search how many times I've said on Twitter, how many times I've said on the show. You'll never see my medical records. You'll never get them. You'll never get them. You'll never get them. And I sent something to Keemstar that night. He was just going to move the goalpost, by the way. You know, Destiny's not a fucking doctor. You know who is a doctor? My fucking doctor. He's the one prescribing me all these fucking medications I'm paying for, most of which are only because I've been suffering from polycythemia for the last 2 years. You know who else is a fucking doctor?
You know who is a doctor? My doctor.
You know who else is a doctor? Not fucking Destiny. My brother. And by the way, my brother has.
Why? So, like, it's interesting. He holds up pill bottles on
You know
stream.
who else is a doctor? Not fucking Destiny. My brother.
What is the, I mean, what's the resolution of their stream? You're willing to hold up a prescription pill bottle that shows you taking prescription medication, but you're not willing to share a part on a diagnosis? To get was it $80,000 at the end is what he was offered for confirmation of that diagnosis? Why not?
Brother. And by the way, my brother has seen my medical records. He's been here since the diagnosis.
Why don't you
My brother-
show
no,
him?
why did I show him? Because I've shown him my whole fucking life. He's my brother. He's a healthcare professional. So
Yeah,
I got
he's not
diagnosed.
an MD.
Was his brother a healthcare professional? I thought his brother was just like a biologist or something. He's a PhD, but I don't think he's definitely not an MD, right? I didn't see MD on there. I thought he was just like a researcher or something.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's an
It does. It doesn't matter.
in public.
Your brother loves you and is a biased. Your brother loves you and is a biased narrator. And I absolutely agree with
Like the fact that he's citing his brother as a doctor. Do you know what doctor means in the case when you're talking about like a medical doctor, an MD, like a physician that's actually gone to med school? Like,
you. He loves you. He loves you. By the way, no disrespect to your brother. I would lie for my brother too.
My brother wouldn't. Just to be very clear, my brother would.
What kind
He's
of
not gonna ruin his goddamn
brother.
career.
Hold on. What kind of doctor is your brother?
oh fuck, it cuts off there. All right, and then one final thing. Apparently, Boogie tweeted out a whole twit longer. According to the internet, I lied about cancer. However, for the last 2 years, I've been treating the symptoms of that cancer, blood tests, medications, and so much more. As a quick thing, because a lot of people on the comments were laughing about Boogie bringing up bloodletting, draining somebody of blood is actually a treatment for both primary and secondary polycythemia. If somebody has an excess of blood creation, you can drain blood in order for that to be part of the treatment. I think that the treatment for primary and secondary polycythemia, I think does have a lot of overlap just from this, but I didn't read all of the different treatment regimens. There might be other things that are involved too, but I think there is a decent amount of overlap there. Just as a quick heads up for that. However, for the last 2 years, I've been treating the symptoms of that cancer, blood tests, medications, and so much more. We still have one test left to do to verify which cancer it is. For now, we have been treating the polycythemia vera, which is the cancer they told me that I have. What do you mean verify which cancer is causing an elevation of red blood cells and everything that's consistent with polycythemia vera? Are there other cancers that cause that same condition? If that's true, I didn't come across any of it, but I'm also not a medical doctor, so maybe there are. But I'm not aware of that. However, if you don't even know which cancer it is, if you don't know anything about it, well, then one, how do you know that you are treating it correctly? How would they be able to give you treatment for it? They don't even know if that's the cancer you have, number one. And number two, why would you then tweet out that you have verified that you do have a cancer and then you name it? Why not just tweet out and say, I was diagnosed with cancer, I'm not really sure what it is yet. Why would you name a particular cancer? Like, imagine somebody tweets out like, guys, I found out today I have leukemia. Like, yeah, man, it's rough. It's and then 2 years later, you're like, well, we're not sure if it's like leukemia or like a really aggressive small cell, whatever the fuck cancer. I don't know all the fucking, I'm not an oncologist, right? Why would you change it later? Also, why would you only change it and publicly talk about it the very same day that you've been confronted by somebody else about lying about it? Kind of seems like you're completely and totally full of shit. My brother has seen it in my medical charts. My girlfriend and best friend have been present when the doctor spoke of it. We are now doing more tests to confirm the polycythemia vera or determine if there is a second cancer present. We are starting with a colonoscopy to see if there is a cancer present there, as I've shown signs that prostate cancer is present. I don't think that the treatment for prostate cancer is bloodletting, but okay. Is he treating for prostate cancer as well? I feel like that's something that you probably would want to be on chemotherapy or get radiation treatment or something for, but hey, what the fuck do I know? Or surgery. Oh, actually, wait, maybe I do know. I think my dad had prostate cancer, actually, and I think he had part of his prostate removed, but yeah, who knows, whatever. I was panicked when my doctor told me I had cancer 2 years ago, and when I was in a vulnerable state, I shared that long before I should have. It was a stupid thing to do. I should have never jumped the gun like that. So his doctor told him that he had cancer, but he didn't say what kind of cancer, and he said, well, wait 2 years to test for which one? Interesting. I have never done a GoFundMe. I have never asked my audience for money to treat this cancer. I have never and never will, except he used his cancer as an excuse to scam his audience. In fact, in my years as a YouTuber, I've donated and helped raise tens of thousands of dollars to St. Jude's Cancer Research Hospital to help people suffering with cancer. My father died of cancer. My best friend from childhood died of cancer. My friend John, Total Biscuit, died of cancer. Don't care about any of this. Cancer is not something I would ever lie about. Don't care. Cope. I'm sorry that I ever spoke of it. Moving forward, no matter what happens, I will not speak of it publicly, no matter what happens. Oof. So even if he does get the test and verify it, no matter what happens. So he used it publicly for 2 years in multiple conversations, and he spoke about it multiple times on his Twitter to garner sympathy, to get more money, super chats, donations, whatever. Maybe he didn't do a GoFundMe specifically for cancer, but he did that. And now that he's been called out on it, even though supposedly he's doing one final test to confirm, now he won't talk about it at all, ever publicly anymore? Now he's stopped talking about it? Crazy how all of that works out so conveniently for him in like the perfect way if he was lying. Somebody linked a 24-second thing of him talking about the diagnosis.
So high. We can probably give him the fucking
So
code.
Vera's not on there. Vera's not on the portal.
I don't know, man.
It's not.
I can send you a bunch of stuff.
It's
You
not.
said 4 days ago you were looking at it.
Yeah,
but you
4
weren't gonna
days ago you said
screenshot
you were
it.
looking at it. So it's
Oh, another lie. Now he's saying Vera is not written on the patient portal. But before he said he was looking at it. What was he looking at that he was so sure that he said, I'm 100% looking at it and I 100% says it, I'm not going to show it to you. What was he looking at then? What did it say? Maybe he'll say it in this 24-second clip.
Man,
it's not.
I can send you a
You
bunch
do
of stuff.
know
You
it's
said
not.
4 days ago you were looking at
Yeah,
it. But you
4
weren't gonna
days ago you said
screenshot
you were
it.
looking at it.
Like
So
I
it's
told you,
it's
I
not
spent
on
the
there.
last. like I told you, I spent the last 2 years getting treated for it. I've been told by
The treatment for primary and secondary is probably the same in this case, so that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything that he's saying he was treated for it.
my doctor for the last
It's
2 years.
fine,
This is
Boogie.
fake.
Just admit it's not on the portal.
It's not on there. I told you this.
Okay,
I told
thank
you I have to
you.
do the so high. We can probably get him the fucking.
Boogie actually read it and said the word Vera. Oh, maybe he did before. I don't remember exactly, but anyway, yeah, fuck Boogie. He's a disgusting, degenerate piece of shit. Yeah. I love you guys. It's been fun. Time to go upstairs and reinstall everything on my computer because fuck me, I guess. And hopefully we don't have any issues tomorrow. I'll probably also be... Oh, fuck. Am I even streaming tomorrow, actually? I think I am. I have to do a dentist appointment at 1:30, and then I have a Piers Morgan show, I think, at 4 or 5. So if I do stream, it's going to be late. Or maybe the dental appointment will be quick, and I can stream after that. We'll see. That Piers Morgan show is going to be fiery. We'll see. All right. Hopefully, yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be careful. River and cappuccino, poppuccino, hoppuccino, moppuccino, cappuccino, cappuccino, oppuccino, oppuccino, my dude. So I will catch you guys next. Straight right now. Wait, real quick. Is Boner Box streaming? No, it's fucking late for him. Is anybody streaming that I can host or no? Excuse me. No, I mean on my fucking YouTube stream. Okay, fuck it. No. IRI is streaming? On YouTube? Oh, he is. Okay. Go talk to that dude. Rip on. Bye.